Ivica Daçiq është përgjegjës për krime lufte, vrasje masive, përdhunime dhe duhet cilët para drejtësisë para një tribunali për krime lufte. Daçiq was from 1992 till 2000 the right-hand man of the butcher of the Balkans, Slobodan Milošević. Kosovo has learned the lessons of history. We echo these words in this chamber and for the world to hear. Never again. Never again will Kosovo be a defenseless victim of aggression and genocide. Never again will there be destruction. Never again will there be genocide by Serbia. Never again will we, together with our allies, stand defenseless. We have allies and we are capable of defending our country and citizens against this aggression. It is internationally known by friend and foe alike that when Kosovo promises something, it keeps its word. We have not backed one signed agreement. This is not the case for Vučić, Dačić, and co. Their political DNA makes it impossible for them to keep their word. If promises and given signatures are not honored, negotiations become a farce. This is uncivilized, this is outrageous, and a sign of disrespect to the entire diplomatic community. The Serbian strategy is to block Balkan integration into Europe. And behind these attempts in power are the Russian working via Serbia, its Balkan proxy. When dealing with people who engage in dishonest or unfair behavior, it's important to take punitive action rather than negotiate with them. More and more voices in Europe, from Kosovo to the Netherlands and Germany, are now calling for sanctions against Serbia. Because you don't negotiate with cheaters, you face them with the consequences. Kosovo is today an independent state. It is a sovereign, democratic state, one of the 6 countries in the Western Balkans. And that means that as a sovereign, democratic state, we are discussing with our neighbor, with a very problematic neighbor, about the normalization of our relations. It is not a dialogue about the status of Kosovo, because that's a done deal, recognized by more than 115 members of the United Nations. But it is a discussion, negotiations in Brussels about the status of our relations, about the normalization of our relations. Since Mr. Dacic spoke here in the language of the majority of his country instead of English, like his predecessors have done, I also wanted to communicate in Albanian, which is the language spoken by the majority in my country, the Republic of Kosovo. Serbia, as Russia's closest ally, is the biggest threat to the peace in the Balkans. Vučić, Dacic, Šešelj, Vulin live in a dangerous world of Serbian supremacy. Serbia has decided on the Serbian world as a government program, a version 2.0 of Greater Serbia. It documents the pathology of a nationalist ideology that still seeks revenge for a defeat over 500 years ago instead of looking towards the future. It is clear, without the presence of NATO and the USA, there could be a war already. Regarding the current UNMIK report, it can be summarized that in more than 90 of its approximately 100 points, it contains small, large, or severe errors, and important developments and events are completely missing. These serious deficiencies are not new. The problems of UNMIK in our country and internationally have been known by many years. A variety of worthy UN organizations are doing indispensable work for peace and stability all over the world. UNMIK has become a destabilizing factor and does not serve stability and peace in the region. With this report, it has also documented how dispensable it has become. This brings me to the real developments that can provide hope for the region and thus for peace and stability. In the UNMIK report, the Berlin process, for example, only appears as a footnote. Neither the summit held in Berlin in November 22, nor the summit held for the first time in history of the Balkans in Tirana is mentioned in the report. So it's true, President Daçiqit is at the moment in Hague, where I strongly believe that he will show that the Kosovo Liberation Army himself and others being accused have all the arguments on their side to show that they are innocent for the accusation. And it is not worth one comment on what you stressed about having myself as a witness or something in Hague. That is simply not true. Hearing today you and in the last days your president, I'm really asking, really sincerely asking, do we really have an agreement or do we not have an agreement in Ohrid? As we understand, we have an agreement and we will be very committed to implement what we promised to do in these two meetings, in Brussels and in Ohrid. But I really have doubts, meanwhile, hearing all these declarations which are made more for the domestic public than for this very honorable body. But it is like it is. We cannot choose our neighbors. We will continue the discussions, and we will. I'm very sure that with this Serbian political elite or with others, we will normalize our relationships because there is no other alternative.